The aroma of simmering lasagna filled the kitchen, my son's favorite dish, one I'd perfected over years of family dinners. In the next room, my family buzzed with excitement, planning their Hawaii vacation. Laughter and chatter floated through the open door, but no one glanced my way, even as I cooked for them. "We've got to see the volcano," my daughter-in-law declared, her voice bright with enthusiasm. "It's supposed to be breathtaking." "What about surfing?" my grandson piped up. "My friend learned in just a few days last summer." "Absolutely. Surfing's a must," my son replied, scrolling through his tablet. I found a top-notch school with private instructors. I wiped my hands on a towel and leaned in the doorway, offering a smile. "I was in Hawaii once," I said, my voice cutting through their chatter. "Your grandfather and I went for our 20th anniversary. There's this lookout on the North Shore with the most incredible ocean view." My daughter-in-law's eyes flicked upward, a faint smirk tugging at her lips. "That was ages ago, Vivienne. Things have changed." "Yeah, Mom," my son added, barely looking up. "Tourism's exploded. We'll stick to the latest guides." I nodded, retreating to the stove. Ages ago. It was only 25 years, a blink compared to the ancient islands. But to them I was a relic, my memories dismissed as outdated. As I served the lasagna, my daughter-in-law swiped through photos of a black sand beach. "This is the one formed by volcanic activity," she explained. "Penaloo," I said, setting the dish down. "Your grandfather and I saw green sea turtles there, basking on the shore." My grandson tilted his head, skeptical. "You sure, Grandma? Maybe you saw it on TV." I forced a smile, pulling a worn black and white photo from my wallet. "No, I was there." The image showed me and my husband, arms around each other, smiling against the dark beach. I wore a floral dress, he sported a light shirt and shorts, our joy frozen in time. "Wow," my youngest granddaughter whispered, her eyes wide. "You were so pretty, Grandma." Her mother barely glanced at the photo. "Sweetie, serve your grandmother some lasagna. Vivienne, sit." She gestured to a chair at the table's far end, far from my usual spot beside my son. I tucked the photo away and sat, feeling like a guest in my own home. This kitchen had once been my domain. My husband always said I was the best hostess in town. We'd throw lively dinner parties, filled with friends and his colleagues from the construction firm. After he retired, we traveled, dreamed big, until a heart attack stole him away, leaving me alone in this sprawling house. My son suggested they move in. "Why does a widow need such a big place?" he'd asked, his wife nodding warmly. "We'll take care of you, Vivienne." So I agreed, moving into a small guest room downstairs. "No stairs to climb," they said, thoughtful as ever. Thoughtful or convenient, they took the house and I became the outsider. "We leave Wednesday at 3:30 a.m., my daughter-in-law announced, eyes on her phone. "Flight's at 6. "That early?" my grandson groaned. "Gives us a full day in Hawaii," my son said, piling more lasagna onto his plate. "Time to settle in." "Why not stay at an airport hotel the night before?" I suggested. "I could cover it as my contribution." "No need, Mom," my son said quickly. "We've got it handled." "Someone has to stay home," his wife added. "We can't leave the house empty for 2 weeks." I blinked, stunned. I thought I was coming. "It's a family vacation." An awkward silence fell. My son glanced at his wife, who shook her head slightly. "Mom, we thought," he began, hesitating. "We thought you'd prefer to stay. Long flights are tough at your age." "At my age?" I gripped my fork, my lasagna untouched. "I'm 65, in perfect health." My doctor would agree. "It's not just health," my daughter-in-law cut in. "Hawaii's active. Hiking, snorkeling, maybe climbing. You couldn't keep up." "I could enjoy the beach while you do those things," I countered. She forced a smile. "We can't leave you alone, Vivienne. What if you got lost or sick? It's too risky." "I'm not a child," I said, my voice sharp. "I can manage." "Mom," my son said, his tone patronizing, "we're just looking out for you. Plus, someone needs to water the plants, get the mail." Her plants. 2 orchids I already tended. The mail, mostly junk. "Of course," I said quietly, swallowing my hurt. "I understand. The conversation shifted back to swimsuits and sunscreen, and I ate in silence, memories of Hawaii with my husband flooding back. His laughter as we snorkeled, our sunburned shoulders, the spontaneous joy of that trip. Life's too short to overplan. Viv, he'd said. He was right. Grandma, can I borrow your binoculars? My youngest granddaughter asked later. For birdwatching in Hawaii. I smiled. They were my father's, old but pristine. Sure, sweetie. Be careful with them. You got new digital ones for your birthday? Her mother snapped. Why use those old things? They're special, my granddaughter said softly. The lenses are so clear. They're outdated, her mother insisted. Vivienne, why give away something you use? I don't birdwatch much anymore, I lied. It was one of my few joys, but I wanted my granddaughter to have them. Her mother shut it down, and I saw the girl's face fall, her argument silenced by authority. After dinner, I loaded the dishwasher, listening to my son and his wife plan excursions over their tablet. Alone in my small room later, I stared at a framed photo of my husband, his smile just for me. They're not taking me to Hawaii, I whispered. They say I'm too old. In my mind, he answered, don't let them define you, Viv. You're stronger than you know. I pulled out my notebook, jotting down a single line, time to make a change. The next morning I woke early, the house still too system still. I slipped into my routine, brewing black tea from my hidden stash in the old cookie tin, savoring the quiet before the family stirred. The garden outside was waking, and my eyes lingered on the garage where my husband's navy blue '67 Mustang sat under its cover, a relic of love and care he'd poured into it. Selling it felt like betrayal, driving it felt like reopening a wound. So it stayed a silent monument to him. As I prepared pancakes, my son wandered in, dressed for the day. Morning, Mom. Pancakes. Coffee'd be great. I set his cup down, blacked 2 sugars, and smiled as my youngest granddaughter bounced in, thrilled at the blueberries I'd added. Her genuine joy warmed me, a rare light in the growing distance between me and the rest of them. My daughter-in-law appeared, pristine even in pajamas, and frowned at the pancakes. Vivienne were trying to eat healthy. Too many carbs. My son waved her off, grabbing seconds. It's fine once in a while. The kids love Mom's pancakes. I cherished his small defense, though it was fleeting. Later, as I dusted the living room, I overheard my daughter-in-law on the phone. Just the 4 of us, she said. My mother-in-law's staying home. We offered, of course, but you know how it is. She's 65, what's she going to do in Hawaii? Her laugh was sharp. She'd ruin it, always tired, always needing to sit, leaning on my husband's arm. My hand froze on the bookshelf. Was that how they saw me? A feeble burden? I'd leaned on him once or twice at the mall, but whining, never. Her voice dropped lower. The house is still in her name, but we've been paying the mortgage for 6 months. It's basically ours. My husband says it's easier to wait than deal with paperwork while she's alive. And that old car of hers? A couple grand at most? My heart pounded. That Mustang was worth at least 60,000, maybe 80,000 in pristine condition. Did they not know, or were they lying to themselves? I slipped out to the garden, my head spinning. They weren't taking me to Hawaii. They were waiting for me to die, eyeing my house, dismissing my husband's treasure as junk. In the garage, my son was changing the oil in his wife's Lexus. The Mustang's shape loomed under its tarp. Elliot, I called softly. He turned, startled. Need something? Mom. I hesitated, glancing at the car. Just thinking about the Mustang. Maybe I should. No need to mess with it? He cut in, wiping his hands. It's fine where it is. I nodded, retreating. That night, in my small room, I opened my notebook again. Time to make a change stared back at me. I thought of my husband's words, don't let them decide, Viv. He was right. I wasn't too old, too frail, or too anything. This was still my house, my life. The next day, I called my lawyer. By week's end, I drafted a new will. The house, the Mustang, my savings. Everything would go to my youngest granddaughter. She saw me, loved me, valued the binoculars and the stories they carried. She was my legacy, not my son or his wife. When they left for Hawaii, I stayed behind, watering orchids and collecting mail. But I wasn't idle. I planned my move to a small cottage by the lake, where I could birdwatch, read, and live on my terms. The Mustang would come with me, a reminder of love that endured. Months later, my son called, his voice strained. Their spending had spiraled. Failed ventures, maxed out cards. Mom, we need help. I pictured the empty mansion, their dreams of grandeur collapsed. I gave you a home, I said calmly. You made your choices. I hung up, my heart steady. In the garden, my granddaughter ran to me, clutching a book of poetry. Grandma, read with me, she asked, her eyes bright. As we sat among the lilies my husband planted, I felt free. My son had my house, but my granddaughter had my soul. And that was enough.